to do my vintage Chanel bag collection. So many years ago, I wanted to buy my first Chanel bag. So I've always been a fan of Chanel. My mom has an amazing bag collection and I always wanted one of my own. So after I started working and saved up some money, I thought, okay, it's time to go get my first Chanel bag. So I went to the boutique and, found the bag that I wanted, and then was completely shocked at how expensive it was. I mean, I knew it was expensive. It was just the whole thing of, wow, I'm giving away so much money for this bag. And even though I had saved up some money, I was still just like, I don't know if I can part with that much. So I was trying to find alternate routes and I ended up with vintage. And I found a whole world of vintage Chanel and just fell in love. Not only are the price points amazing, I mean, it's definitely not cheap, but they're more affordable than when you buy them new. And there's just so many styles that you can choose from, and knowing that, not every other person that has a Chanel bag has that same bag as you. So I really do love vintage and have bought a few bags since, my first one. And so I wanted to show you guys the ones that I have in my collection. Let's get started on this one. This one was my very first bag. So I really wanted, the classic flap. I think that's what a lot of girls want with their first Chanel bag, is they just want the really classic one that you see all the time that you love. And I really just love that classic Chanel flap shape. And I found this one and I really liked it just because it was the classic shape or the classic style, but the shape was a little bit different. This one is more square, obviously, as you can see, but it still has that really classic look, and it is a double flap. So, I mean, very similar to just the regular flaps. And the inside pocket, you've got the big pocket and then the little pocket, and then there's also a couple of smaller pockets and a zipper pocket inside. And so it's a really good sized bag. I think this actually holds more than a regular medium classic flap. Just because of the way it's shaped, you get more space up top. And I've never had a problem fitting anything in here. And so I really like this just because it's, what I wanted. It was the best, first Chanel bag that I could buy. And so I was very excited to find it. The next one is this Tote, which is definitely different than the flap that I just showed you. But for my second bag, I wanted something that was different but still timeless and classic. And so when I found this tote, I just thought it was perfect because I was able to carry a lot in the bag. At that time, I was still working in corporate, and so it was nice for me to have bigger size kind of totes that could carry paperwork and notepads and other kind of things that I needed. And this also didn't scream like Chanel. So I felt comfortable, carrying it to work. And it was just, it's still a really nice bag. I still love it. I don't carry it as much now. I probably should. I think I just kind of forget about it. But, I still absolutely love it. It's got one big pocket or, inside, and then the zipper pocket on the inside, and then the 4 outside pockets. And it's got, this zipper pull that makes it a Chanel, I guess, since they always have a monogram on their bags. And it's cute because it's there, but it's also not. If you don't want to show it off, you can just pull it to the side here, and all you see is it on the side instead of on the front. So yeah, I mean, this is a great just kind of nice work tote, nice, you know, general tote. I do have to say that the leather is super, super soft still. It's such good quality. And that's what I find with vintage, is that even though it's old, you know, most of these bags are 10, 15, 20 years old, they're still in such good shape and good condition that it just makes the investment totally worth it. And you know, this bag, when I first got it, I carried it almost every day for like a year, and so it's been through a lot, but it still looks amazing. And I really do think that the older vintage bags are made really well, and that's, you know, just one of the reasons why I like it. This last one I got a little bit more recently. I think this one was maybe just about 2 years ago. The other ones were a little bit older, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I really wanted a navy Chanel bag. And I did go into the stores looking for a navy Chanel. But if you shop Chanel, you know that when you walk into the store and ask for something, it's pretty rare that they have it. You usually have to order it or get on the wait list, or, you know, have your sales person, you know, track it down. And I couldn't find a navy Chanel, so I thought, you know what, I was going to look to see what there is for vintage, and I ended up finding this bag. And it's probably hard to tell that it's navy. It is a really dark navy, but I do like the look of navy and gold, and I just wanted something that was a little bit different than my other bags. And so this one does kind of have that classic shape, except for its the flap goes all the way down, and then opening it up, it just looks like this. It's not a double flap, it's just, you know, open in here. I keep tissue in here to kind of keep the shape, so that's why there's tissue in there. So this one also has the extra pocket in front. This one is not as practical, just because the size, it's a little bit smaller and a little bit more narrow, and so I can't keep as much stuff in it. And the other thing is the straps aren't that long, so this is as long as it goes, so it can only be carried over the shoulder. You can do the single or the double, but either way it's only over the shoulder. You can't crossbody it. And these days when I'm with my daughter, I like to crossbody everything. Otherwise, when I'm, you know, chasing after her or carrying her, the bags always end up falling off my shoulder, and it's just annoying to deal with. So I don't carry this one a lot. I do carry it like when I'm going out to dinner or meeting up with girlfriends for drinks, and just knowing that, you know, it doesn't matter if I don't need to carry a lot of stuff, and I don't need to have a crossbody with me. So it's just one of those bags that was good to have to my collection. But after buying this, I kind of learned to really pay attention to details with, you know, the strap length, because when I bought it, I read all of the details, such as the condition, to make sure it was in pretty new condition and that the leather didn't have any scratches on it, but I didn't bother to read how long the strap length was. And so now I know to pay attention to all of those details, just because all of my other Chanel bags, the strap length has been long enough for me to do crossbody, and then this one just ended up not. Those are my 3 bags. It's not a huge collection, but it's one that I really love. And, you know, all of these bags I do rotate occasionally with all of my other bags. And so I try to, you know, have a good variety of bags. So it's not like I just have all classic flat bags or all, you know, of the same bags. I try to get myself a little variety so that it matches my outfit, matches my mood, and all of that. And so vintage, I feel like, you know, as I've talked about before, it's great just because I feel like most Chanel owners are really good to their bags. And so that's why I love like vintage and pre-owned bags, because you can get really great Chanel bags for, you know, a better price than you'd find at the store, and the condition they're in is still really great. I've never really run into an issue where I got a bag and like it looked like super old, or it smelled old, or you know how sometimes bags or clothes have that, you know, old musty smell. I never really had that issue, and I just think it's because people who have Chanel bags tend to baby them, and so that when they're ready for resale, they're still pretty new. Price-wise, so I think for a new Chanel, it's probably, you would end up spending around $3,000 to $4,000. I mean, there's definitely bags even more than that, but I think that's crazy. I would never spend like $5,000 on a bag, but that's just me. So, but you know, $3,000 to $4,000 is a big chunk of money. And so with the vintage ones, I actually got each of these for around $1,000 each. So usually with vintage bags, there is a no return policy. And so I just make sure that before I buy it, I really look at all of the details about how the seller has described the bag, if it's in like new condition or if it has scratches. And like I mentioned before with the measurements, just make sure you check all the measurements and that you really want that bag before buying it. And so, you know, vintage is great just because it's affordable, or rather more affordable than buying new. And you know, there's all of these websites now where you can just browse vintage and pre-owned bags, which I love. You know, you get to see so many different styles and, you know, what's not out in the stores right now. And I mean, you can't buy new Chanel bags online, so it's kind of a great way to be able to look online and browse those bags. So I mean, I'm a big supporter of vintage and pre-owned, and so I think that it's a great way to kind of start your Chanel bag collection if you're looking, you know, to start something like that. Or if you just want one Chanel bag and you think that's going to be it, maybe just check out vintage and that'll be the way to go for you. You know, for me at the time when I was looking for my first and I ended up getting this bag, I, you know, was over the moon about it, and I thought I felt the same way as if I went to the store and got a new Chanel bag. You know, it just felt so good that I was able to save up my own money and buy a bag that I had, you know, loved and dreamed about. I mean, it's so silly because it's just a bag, but I don't know, I feel like for women like me that love bags, you kind of understand that whole excitement and being able to go out and buy a bag and have it on your shoulder. And so anyways, I just wanted to share my love of the vintage bags. I did write a blog post a few years ago about where to buy Chanel or vintage bags, and I probably should do an update on that as it's probably a little outdated. I think the websites that I mentioned are still in business, and so I'll link to that blog post in my comments below, but I will probably do an updated video and post about the places that I've shopped at and any new places that I found that have a great selection, a great customer service, all of that. So thank you so much for watching. I would love for you guys to subscribe if you haven't, and like this video if you did like it, and I will talk to you guys on my next one. Bye.